This piece is called My Tiny Dancer's Hands by Cynthia Salauskas. It is about a young couple who has experienced discrimination against their love for one another. The pain that the young woman feels as her girlfriend is in a coma is very heart-opening and eye-opening to a huge problem in today's society. Acceptance is something everyone deserves, no matter their race, their sexuality, or their beliefs. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. I'm not used to this whole religious thing. I don't pray. I never do. I just need somebody to talk to, someone who will listen. Because in this entire hospital, it feels like everyone seems to be ignoring the issue. It all started because we were holding hands. I can still feel the lightness those hands brought. But because it was us who were holding hands, it is considered an abomination. I can remember the exact day I fell in love with Molly. That evening, we had been at a bonfire. We had been sitting next to each other up until the moment she heard Elton John's Tiny Dancer come on the radio. She leapt to her feet in excitement. She pulled back the brown curls from her face and slowly began moving to the music's melody. She lifted her hands up towards the sky and then closed her eyes, as if taking in the night's perfection. To watch such beauty, to witness such grace, was beyond anything anyone could ever explain. And to feel her hand placed in mine, to know she was mine only, made it that much more mesmerizing. She is so simple, so laid back, and so completely selfless. She cares for people who may not even deserve her sympathy. The kind of people who mock her, she gives sympathy to. The kind of people who say things behind her back, she gives sympathy to. The kind of people who want to cause her pain, she gives sympathy to. Now, she is laying down the hall in a hospital bed, lasped in a coma, because that sympathy went unnoticed. Who Molly is as a person didn't matter to them. All they cared about was the hand she was holding, and they didn't like it. You know, I can honestly say at one time, I believed all those coming out horror stories were exaggerated. I actually had faith that most people were decent enough not to beat the hell out of someone because of who they love. After what's happened though, defending people has become nearly impossible. I was reading the newspaper one morning, and I read an article about a man named Preston. He was being interviewed about his elementary experience in Alabama. In his PE class, his peers rather enjoyed playing a game called Smear the Queer. Preston asked his teacher if they could maybe play a different game instead. But Preston's teacher said no, but you can be the designated queer for the day. And the rest of that class, Preston's classmates ran at him, throwing dodgeballs, because he was the designated queer. Some people may say being homosexual is inhumane, but how is treating people in such an obscene way human? And how is beating someone up enough to knock them into a coma human? I mean, will the hate ever stop? When I saw Molly in that hospital bed, bruises all over her face, her arms, her legs, I felt hopeless. I mean, in school, we dealt with people calling us names like dykes, lesbos, and queers, but we never let it get to us. They were just words. Molly would just take my hand and smile at me. Nothing was better than when she took my hand. It was her way of reassuring me that everything was completely fine. One time, after Sadie told me my reasoning for being a lesbian was because I'm an ugly country girl who can't find herself a boyfriend, Molly just took my hand and said, "There's nothing we can't get through, as long as your hand is in mine." But because she was alone, because her hand wasn't in mine, because she was off school grounds, and because she's a lesbian, and because Sadie and her homophobic friends decided to play their own game of Smear the Queer, is why the world's friendliest girl is laying upstairs in a coma. We forgave, and now forgiveness seems to be the hardest thing. I miss it when it was the easiest. I want to be able to love everyone freely. Because love should be free. It's sad that I even need to beg for acceptance to love Molly, the most incredible girl in the world. There's a vision that always plays over in my mind when things like this happen. It's the only thing that keeps me from breaking down and becoming nothing more than who all those tormentors are. This vision is so utterly beautiful. It puts me in a state of peace. Peace like the smell of grass. Peace like the taste of sunbeams. Peace like doves in olive branches. And I see Molly. Molly, in a white chiffon sundress that falls from her shoulders. I wish this vision would stay. And I can see her dancing. Dancing as if her pain is completely invisible. And she smiles. And her passionate hazel eyes lock into mine, and I know she is at peace. And she puts out her hand. I'm tempted. I'm tempted to take her hand and get lost within these lines of vision. But this Molly doesn't need me. The Molly down the hall needs me. And as much as I long to feel that peace, as much as I long to get lost in this beautiful vision, it's the real Molly who needs that peace. And if there's one thing I can do, it's to go up there. There's nothing we can't get through as long as your hand is in mine.